So I just want to start by welcoming everybody to our first official REDTalk. If you don't know me, my name is Ann Islas, and I am the Vice President of the UIW Alumni Association. Just as reference, this, as I said, is our first REDTalk. REDTalks are a lecture series that the UIW Alumni Association has developed to kind of play off of TED Talks. So tonight, we're going to have some basic guidelines. The first is, as I said, when you were coming in, we've muted your mics, and we ask that you leave them that way for now, just so we don't have background noise. A lot of you submitted questions ahead of time, which is really exciting that you all want to be so engaged. And we were able to give those to Ms. Flores ahead of time, and she integrated them into her presentation. If she wasn't able to, then she'll get to them at the end. And we know that more questions will come up as she's presenting. So please feel free to use the chat feature to enter any questions you have, and we will get to them at the end of her presentation. And last but not least, please be respectful of each other. So I'll start by introducing Ms. Flores. She has been in education for the past 15 years. She was a special education teacher for most of it, and she's currently a behavioral specialist at NISD, excuse me. Ms. Flores and I met through the Dreeben School of Education through our master's program, and she is not only a close friend now, she is an invaluable resource when it comes to anything education related. And with that being said, I'm going to give her the floor and let her take over.
Hey, again, my name is Antoinette Flores. I do come with 15 years experience. 7 have been as a behavior interventionist support specialist. I support 9 campuses. Prior to Northside, I was with SAISD in the inner city schools, very active with community. My undergrad was in education with a concentration in special education, so I'm certified K through 12, and a master's from education with a concentration in adult education. So I'm really excited to be here with you guys tonight. Thank you for joining us. The topic for today is going to focus on distance learning. And in the midst of the COVID virus, distance learning has a whole new meaning. It's unprecedented. It comes with a lot of challenges and some advantages. So we're just going to go over some key highlights to address those issues. I'm going to start with a PowerPoint that I prepared for you guys. Okay, first I want to define distance learning. It's a method of studying in which lectures are broadcast or classes are conducted by correspondence or over the internet without the students needing to attend a school or college as a physical building. Distance learning, we've seen students study abroad. Like I said, we have a whole new meaning now with this COVID virus. We're not able to do study groups anymore. A lot of students in college who are used to going to campus because they purposely don't do well in online courses are adjusting just as well as our school-age students. So some of the advantages of distance learning, I'm going to go over a few highlights. We gain knowledge on how to access online resources. In school, we teach our students to be resourceful, but now more than ever, they're having to go above and beyond what the normal routine would be within their campus. So they're knowing how to use different apps, different devices, reaching out and getting ebooks from different universities or even other campuses. Time management, not only is that time management for the student, but for the parents as well. We have a lot of working parents, some in education, some not. And it's a time management issue when they're trying to just get their own work done for the first time working from home while managing that of their child, their student. So that has been very taxing, and most of the questions that I get on a personal level from friends or colleagues is that time management. I'm just making sure that everything is done in a timely manner, because you don't have a teacher in front of you telling you, hey, it's due by Wednesday at 3. It's kind of, you have these assignments for the week and here's what the expectation is, and you log on for tutoring at various times. It can also be convenient. Like I said, these are different times, but when you do distance learning, you can travel, you can do your work from a, Starbucks, coffee shop, a restaurant, out in the park. And it's really difficult with these days. So you're really limited to the home. Self-paced learning, because you don't have that deadline, you have flexibility of working or doing other activities, spending time with your family. And then with that time management, you can do it on the weekends and evenings. You don't have to physically sit in front of a live classroom or even a video, only on designated dates. The advantage of distance learning is that it allows families to bond and build relationships. A lot of times, the only time that families can really see their children in that capacity is during homework, which doesn't take more than 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the age of the student. But it's bridging that bond and that interaction between academics and the child. So projects, maybe going to do a science experiment or maybe a family tree and exploring how to utilize your family members and do interviews. So it does create a bond. Now, some of the challenges, some of you can relate to the image. Right now, it's a lot of help, help, help. So the lack of accessibility to technology and resources, devices, and internet and learning labs. Most districts that I know and colleges have provided devices. They've issued out hotspots for those parents that do not have internet access. I know the colleges, I have friends with the Alamo Community Colleges, and they have parking lots designated for students to drive up, access the Wi-Fi, do their assignments, submit them, and then they're able to go back home. So I really applaud the efforts educators are doing everywhere from pre-kinder all the way to college. It's pretty neat how they're responding to this disruption of education. Environmental factors. There are challenges. We have some parents have multiple students in one household at different academic, levels. Of course, our own caseload or workload from working from home. The fact that you're not in a setting that's formal, in a building, in a desk with a library, it's really hard to do work or get your student to do work knowing that their iPad, their game system, their rooms right next door. So there's a lot of factors that play into that are beyond your control. Education experience, the level of support at home. Some families work and they're essential workers, so they don't get home till 8, 10 o'clock at night. So having someone there to say, hey, I don't understand this math problem, or hey, can we Google Classroom, my teacher, and try to, troubleshoot this problem, they might not have that accessibility, or the parents just don't feel comfortable with that level of rigor because maybe they're not just well versed in that area. Scheduling conflicts. Here's a big one. So we know with our secondary and college students, they have multiple classrooms, periods, more than 7, 8 courses at a time, if that. So that's hard with scheduling, of course, bedtime, dinner. Let's just say you have a work project that week and it consumes most of your time, then you're not able to just stop and say, okay, we're gonna work from 8 to 10. You might have a lot of disruptions with your schedule. Limited opportunities for cooperative learning. Due to COVID, these students cannot get in groups, whereas when you were homeschooling, you could have homeschool groups, you can utilize other parents and other avenues of method of teaching, maybe go out to a park or do something hands-on, more of an environmental approach, going to a nature walk, going to a zoo, museum experiences. Unfortunately, with this COVID virus, it's very limiting and that's very challenging. So some strategies that are just basic 101 strategies on for behavior, especially with distance learning that we're finding, is have clearly defined routines and procedures. I get a lot of people asking me, well, how can I do routines? I know there's set routines from 8 o'clock to 3 p.m. You're not going to get all that in, and that's just a fact. You're at home, right? So you have your own workload, other factors, but the times that you can keep close and with fidelity and just committing to routine, the kids will eventually get it. So even if it's just a time of day and you can't even stick to the time, just the morning, have a routine, procedures. The way we use a smartwatch, we use a planner, even just a poster board, a picture schedule on what they need to start with and what they're going to do next. No more than 3 to 5 rules at a time because it gets overwhelming. When you do give the student directives, 2-step directives, first this, then this. Because a lot of times they look at their Google Classroom, they look at their assignments, and it's way overwhelming for them, and they don't know where to begin. So even having a lesson plan, if you will, like Monday through Friday, and maybe staggering the assignments and breaking them up, they can do a check off list for the day, or even just a time of day. This is what I'm doing in the morning, so I'm doing in the afternoon. And that way it's not so overwhelming. Allow wait time for processing the directives. As parents, we get really frustrated. You know this already, your teacher already told you to do this and that, you have the notes right here. Just remember they're going through a lot of emotional stress right now. They miss their friends, they miss the routine. They don't really feel they're in school because they're not in a building. So some of them are checked out and thinking, okay, we're at home, we're kind of in summer mode. Reminding them that everybody's going through it, teachers also. So allowing time to process. Post a visual schedule for the day. It could be a picture, a calendar posted where, like I mentioned, if you need to do an object schedule for your smaller ones or students with special needs, you can do an object as well. Provide an environment that's conducive to learning, easy listening music, turning off the TV, maybe moving their study environment. I know my nephew, he's 15, and we're going through this right now. He insists on studying in his room, but he's not able to finish everything he's supposed to be finishing. So it's hard to complete work. So now we have him at the table with all devices off except for his laptop, and just making sure with no interruptions as best as possible. Allow alternate learning resources. So it can't always be, you know, pen and paper. Remember, at their classrooms, they have access to manipulatives and a plethora of resources. Use marbles, Legos, maybe M&Ms, candy for counting, things around the house. You know, they can utilize those things, and especially when they're doing science experiments, even just basic reading and math skills. Just something to keep them interested and engaged, because it becomes monotonous and then they lose interest, and then that's when they check out. And then you start seeing those task avoidance behaviors. Use captions on TV to promote word recognition. You can cut up a comic strip and label it in the back, and they have to put them in sequential order. What happened first, what happened next, at the end, and then they can even do inferencing. Well, what happened if we added another card to the comic? How would you like for it to end? Or even movies. Reach out to education websites. Also with school districts, they have a distance learning link. So do the Alamo Community Colleges, universities, all the way to private schools. Everybody has those links up, and they are consistently updating those and adding more resources for students as problems and issues arise. They are responding to those. Again, this is unprecedented. So not only is it distance learning, but it's also having to deal with a virus that is very limiting. So just a few samples of visual supports, and these are very basic. At the end of the PowerPoint, I do have some slides that share anything from resources and visual supports from AVID, which is a college ready career readiness program, and I was a member of that team for 2 years. So I did go to extensive AVID training, and it goes all the way through college. So you can go as basic as, here's what you have to do. These are all done. You can do a little arrow. You can have it flipped over or just crossed off. If you laminate it and use a dry erase marker, you could do it daily. On the right, we have our first then for our younger students, or even our students with special needs that just may need that 2 directives, very explicit, very concise, and very simple. At the end of the presentation, when you click on the AVID link, you can also go on to other websites to get visual schedules for depending on what grade level your students is, whether it's kinder all the way to college. So these visuals are very important and crucial to helping students organize their thoughts and get their instructional layouts as well. And they use these in class all the time. So best practices, going back to taking care of you and the child's whole self. Eat well and establish an exercise regimen. I can't express that enough. A lot of our students get hungry even in class, and you know, right now they're eating us house and home right now, and it's just a boredom. I just want snacks all day and not having a rhyme or reason for it. Go on nature walks, take a brain break. If the student and is not just having a good day that morning, you may have to just table the activity and go to something else or come back and revisit it, and that's okay. And that's the advantage of distance learning. You can pace yourself and just get to it at the time that is best fit for the family. When you take the brain breaks, try to do them before the student has a meltdown or before they become physically exhausted. A lot of times in our classrooms, we'll schedule the brain breaks. That way they know no matter what I've completed or how much I've gone through lessons, I know at 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock, I'm going to get a break. So if you need to schedule those, by all means, make sure that they're done before you get to the point where it's punitive, like go walk or go to your room, because we don't want the room to be punitive because that's their resting place and it should be their haven. Self-care, if you find that you're getting stressed, supporting your students. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. Decompress, talk to friends, reach out to teachers and other parents that are going through the same thing. Like I said, put the materials away and try another day, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So remember to breathe and regroup. Each day is a new day. If you're off track a few days, pick up where you can, move forward. Keep in mind, there's a lot of fun ways to present the lessons at a later time and alternate So here's my toolbox. I just listed a few because I didn't want to overwhelm you with so many resources. But like I said, visit your respective school district. On the main website at the bottom, usually our districts are posting distance learning links, and they're a wealth of information from where to access devices, the food bank, wraparound services, if your child was accessing physical therapy, speech, any kind of special education services, the links are on there and how to access that. PBISworld.com, this is amazing. So the link is organized by behavior and also by age level. So we have defiance or task refusal. We have a lot of our students that are just putting their head down. They don't even want to participate in Google Classroom. There's also links to motivators, sticker chart, a task chart, like some of the ones that I've shown you on there. So please feel free to peruse through those and see what best fits your need. Region 20 is our education center here in San Antonio. They provide webinars not only for teachers and admin, but parents alike throughout the school year. I think now more than ever, we should really encourage you to go on those sites because all those webinars are free. And they will offer you any kind of support, especially with distance learning. And if you sign up for one and maybe they'll keep you on a newsletter and they constantly will send you updates on follow-ups to that webinar in case you can't make it, or if you just want to go a step further and get more in depth in that topic. So utilize Region 20, they're amazing over there. Also the AVID program, it's advancement via individual determination. They start Cornell notes as young as elementary and they move all through the college level. So it's not only prepping for college, but prepping for career-wise, just time management, how to organize notes, how to read your notes and take them efficiently and effectively. So these are just a few that I wanted to include in your toolbox. Of course, there are several resources out there. For starters, look into your respective school district and university for those resources. And this concludes my PowerPoint portion of the presentation. Again, your participation in this webinar is greatly appreciated. A special thank you to UIW for allowing me to speak today. And I really wanted to read this quote because I thought it was very meaningful. One machine can do the work of 50 ordinary men. No machine can do the work of one extraordinary man. And this is key. I mean, we're one person, sometimes two in the home, but we can only do what we can do as far as supporting our students with distance learning. But every effort is an effort and it's meaningful and it's positive and it's just taking baby steps little at a time.
Okay, so thank you, Ms. Flores. That was a wonderful presentation. If anybody has any questions, please, you can send them through the chat, or if you feel more comfortable using your mic, you're more than welcome to unmute yourself and ask a question. So we'll take a few questions right now if anybody has any. So one person said, as a special education professional, how do you feel about the validity of IEP process monitoring in a distance learning setting?
So as far as validity, we are in all districts actually, we're responding to the lack of the access to the building. So what we're doing is we're responding to the interruption of services. We're still providing them in the capacity that we're able to through distance learning, but those services, for example, transportation, we're not providing school bus transportation. In a letter we're giving to parents, it'll state what we're continuing and what we're not able to continue because of the COVID and a response to disruption. And we know our data is going to be skewed. It may not be authentic because they're not in a classroom we can observe. But what we're doing, even as behavior specialists, I'm going into Google Classrooms and Zoom meetings, and I'm observing students working one-on-one with a teacher or in a small group. And through there, we meet weekly, we revisit the IEP before the ARD, and we address instructional supports and the IEP, and we do as best to meet those with fidelity and in compliance. Good question.
Anybody else have a question? No? Okay. If not, that's okay. We are going to send out a link tomorrow to the people who are here with the presentation and links to resources, as well as some information on how to meet or get in contact with Ms. Flores in case you think of something later on. And then this webinar will also be available on YouTube to share with anybody that you think would be interested. And we just thank you for coming and joining us for our first Red Talk. I hope it was helpful. Know that you are not alone in your struggles, and that if the Alumni Association can help you in any way, please reach out to us. If you're interested in doing a Red Talk or helping the Alumni Association, please get in contact with the alumni office. They will put you in contact with us or get you the resources that you need to be part of it. Other than that, please keep an eye out for our information on our next Red Talk. As we develop the series, we will put all that information on our social media accounts, as well as the UIW Alumni newsletter. So I hope everybody has a good night, and thank you.